Good evening, everybody, and welcome to this special Wednesday night edition of The People Show with yours truly, Mark Wallace, your host and facilitator of this special edition of The People Show. As I told you, we're going to be bringing you more shows. They won't be 2-hour shows. Sometimes they'll be half-hour shows, 45-minute shows, but we're going to be talking about the issues going into the election. We're also going to be talking about the accomplishments of this great presidency that many people discount because they just don't know the facts. So through this platform, we are going to bring you the facts, the figures, the receipts, which is the colloquial term today, but the receipts of what's actually going on and what this administration has gotten done and how Black communities and Black people are benefiting from it. 272,000 people a day are working in good paying, union protected jobs, making anywhere between $80 and $110, some $140,000 a year, all because of the policies of the Biden-Harris administration over the last 3 years. Black unemployment being at record lows, women unemployment being at record lows, Black businesses getting contracts, unbundling the contracts that the previous administration bundled so that only the major companies could participate in it. We're going to go through those so that you know what has been done by this administration and what the stakes are if you want to go back to where we were 4 years ago, 8 years ago. You just need to know the facts. So that is what we are going to do. So welcome to this hour of the program. So I didn't want to get into that. I'm not going to get into litigating that tonight. I'm also going to be talking about a little bit later on something that was just horrendous, that the disgraced former Speaker of the House, Newt Gingrich, who had to, when they were trying to impeach and get rid of Bill Clinton, they had their own escapades that came to light. But we're going to talk about that on another show. We're going to talk about that at another time. What I want to talk to us about, and I use the term us because it is all, it's all of us. And I want to make sure that we understand what we must do as a people. We cannot continue to complain about the status quo. We cannot continue to complain about the disenfranchisement. We cannot continue to complain about the conditions when we're not willing to do what we must do to penetrate the political structure to make sure that we are equitably included and invested in. That has to come through a mindset change with us. It has to be us, and it has to be the change of us. Let me just first of all say hello to all of my homies, Richmond Heights homies. I'm coming home, and we'll be in town tomorrow, but we're coming home for the Richmond Heights reunion that I look forward to. We're gonna have a great time. It's gonna be peaceful, love. I'm looking for talking to as many people and reconnecting with as many people that I grew up with, all for that one day that we are going to get the opportunity to celebrate with each other. All right. So I just want to give that big shout out to Avery Washington, who is the organizer. Avery Washington and Thomas Pla and all of those who've worked with him, organizer. They went through some challenges It had been on and off and on and off and on and off. And we're able to find some common ground to make sure that this goes forward. And I'm really glad to see that happen. And I'm looking forward to it. My wife and I are going to be down there having a great time with the rest of the Wallace, McKinney's, and the Haywood family, which is my sister's husband's family. So we're going to be down there, out there in the 305 in the Heights, doing it up all day Saturday. So look forward to seeing you all. All right. So let me get back to this here in Chicago. All right. So in Chicago, Cook County in the state of Illinois, Black folks, we do a lot of complaining. Not that it's not legitimate, but we complain on there has to be a change. And the change first has to start with you and I. We must abandon individualism. We must abandon it. We must abandon this idea that I've got mine, you get yours, you've got a good job, you have some successes in your business. Because the fact is that a few of us may be doing well, and a few of us have experienced some successes. We're not truly successful. We're not truly successful when we see the kinds of suffering that we see around us. Now, progress is being made for some people in great strides, but that is not going to happen. And the investments that are being made for in other circles, we need to make sure that those investments are made in our circles. So what we have to do, number one, is we have to abandon the idea of individualism, to abandon the idea that one singular person that we're looking for is going to be the liberator of our people. That's not going to happen. We, as the great Eddie Glaude, professor of African American studies at Princeton University, just wrote a book that says we are the leaders that we have been looking for. You and I are the leaders that we have been looking for. And unless we want for things to change, and if we want things to change, we have to be that change. And we have to impact the circles of people who trust our voices. You are a trusted voice to a group of people. I am a trusted voice to a group of people. We have to bring our trusted voices together. That we are one band, we are one strength, united together for the enrichment of the Black community from education to economics. And that has to be a united, committed commitment by each of us together. We are not going to do this We are not going to do this individually. We're not going to do it by being fragmented. You can't have some group over here that may be doing really good work, but they're a small fraction trying to lift a heavy load. Our problems are too great for us to depend on a few to be the answer to the problems. They will get crushed as we have been getting crushed, and they will get passed over. Thusly, we will all get passed over. So individualism is a toxic cancer, and we must abandon that ideology that because I live in Country Club Hills, not me, but some live in Country Club Hills and think things are okay. Some live in Flossmoor, some live in Olympia Fields, some live in other places. And you think that you can go and organize a little group in these other areas, and you can deal with the problems that persist and exist and make significant progress. It has never happened. It won't happen. And we have had dynamic individuals who have come and gone. Dr. King was a dynamic individual. Harold Washington was a dynamic individual. Malcolm X was a dynamic individual. Jesse Jackson Sr. is a dynamic individual. We can go on and on and on and on. And talk about all of the people who were just great individuals and did great work, made major contributions. Fannie Lou Hamer, Rosa Parks, Harriet Tubman. These were great people, did great things, made great sacrifices. But we cannot, and we still have not been liberated. And there are many, many, many more. I can't name them all. Many more who made great sacrifices and great contributions. We are the Harriet Tubmans. We are the Jesse Jacksons. We are the Malcolm X. We are the Dr. Kings. We are the Fannie Lou Hamers. We are the Sojourner Truths. We are the Ida B. Wells. We are those people. We, you and I. If we truly want to see change, it has got to come through the masses. You saw the promo earlier today. I talked about 20 black aldermen, a black mayor, 6 Cook County commissioners, black, a black board president, 17 black mayors in the suburbs, 22 state representatives that are black, 10 state senators that are black, 4 United States Congress people that are black, a black lieutenant governor, a black attorney general, a black state's attorney, a black city treasurer, a black clerk who has made her transition, black president of the Water Reclamation, 193 black people who are in positions of power in the city of Chicago, the county of Cook, and the state of Illinois. But yet, we have no power. Why? Because most of those people are responding to an agenda that does not equitably include our communities. And the reason why they're responding to that is because somebody else wrote a big check to make sure that they were there, and they used our votes to get them there. Except for our votes are so fractionized and we're not together. All we did was vote for a person, but we have not organized ourselves so that we can hold those people accountable for responding to the great needs of our communities. And we're being left behind because you and I are the problem. You and I not changing our mindset, not changing how we have been involved in this process, not changing from individual to organized collectively. It's not about a personality. It's not about a person. It is about persons. It is about all of us. That is how we make this work for the masses of our communities. And it is not about being anti anybody else's community. It is not about being anti migrants. We need to abandon this reckless distraction of an idea of focusing on migrants and focusing on recall measures. All you're doing is playing in the hands of those people who want to destroy any possible avenue that we can have to bringing equity to our communities. We don't need to recall Brandon Johnson. What we need to do is to hold Brandon Johnson and to pressure Brandon Johnson to hold him accountable to delivering what we want, what we should have for our people. And how we do that is we organize ourselves together. That's why we started 10 by 10 to win, is to be the umbrella. It is to be the tent for us to build a union of Black power, Black voters that are working together from the city of Chicago, connected suburbs, connected to Robbins, connected to Riverdale, connected to Harvey, connected to Markham, connected to Homewood, connected to Flossmoor, connected to Olympia Fields, connected to Matheson, connected to Maywood, connected to Broadview, connected to every one of the communities where we live, where we exist. If we build that model to becoming an actualization of a union of Black voters, the Chicago Teachers Union is the best example to show you what and when you decide that you're going to organize, what you can do. They decided in 2010 that they are going to become a political force. And 14 years later, they are a political force. I don't have a problem with the Chicago Teachers Union. I have a problem with us not using and recognizing the models of power. We don't have power. We've never had power, and we will never have power as long as we think that it is okay that we operate in silos. Because the people who don't want you to make progress are perfectly okay with pandering to you. They're perfectly okay with being condescending. They're perfectly okay with that and giving you these placebos by putting some hole in the fence individuals up while the masses get left behind. So for this hour, I want to focus on us because I've listened to talk shows throughout the day, throughout the week, of nothing but complaints. And I hear The rhetoric of we've got to hold them accountable. You can't hold anybody accountable if you don't have the power to do so. If you don't have the power to do so, you can't hold any person in a position of public office accountable. Not at the level that we need to. That accountability means that they are addressing the concerns with real solutions, with measurable solutions, not these one-offs, not a Starbucks on a corner or a new Wendy's or a new Dunkin' Donuts, which we don't own, which we have no interest in at all. That's not going to transform and transcends the conditions of our communities. In the 1950s, in the 1960s, and the 1970s, 70% of all Black employment in the city of Chicago was in labor, was in manufacturing. 70% of all Black employment in the city of Chicago was in labor. Ronald Reagan came into office and stopped enforcing the Sherman Act of the Antitrust Act and allowed for major corporations to buy up smaller corporations and create conglomerates again and shift jobs overseas, decimating manufacturers in this country. 47,000 manufacturers were wiped out as a result of Reagan policies, to the tune of 8.5 million jobs, decimated an economy in Chicago, a Black economy on the south and west sides of Chicago, when manufacturers after manufacturer after manufacturer after manufacturer had to close or sell because they could not compete. So we were not filling up corporate companies, positions in corporations. The south and west sides of Chicago thrived through labor. The businesses on the south and west sides of Chicago thrived because of labor. There was industry. You came out of school, you could go get a full-time career job in labor. That was a good paying job that you could buy a house, you could buy a car, you could take your family on vacation, you could save money and send your children to college if that's what they so desired to do. And you supported the Black businesses that lined the streets from Lake Shore out to State Street on 87th, 75th, 47th, and on and on and on. On the west side of Chicago, on Chicago Avenue, Madison, and on and on and on. This is where we need to get back to. Advanced manufacturing is on the rise. The infrastructure and the Chips and Science Act, which is creating 800,000 jobs, 46,000 projects underway as a result of that. This state is going to get $56 billion as a result of those policies, making investments like they're making investments in Belvedere, like they're making investments in the battery manufacturing plant in Frankfurt, like what Governor Pritzker is talking about, the CompuLab that they're talking about proposed for the U.S. Steel site. We need to make sure that Black people are significantly, equitably represented in the job opportunities. And we need to have more of that happening on the south and the west side of Chicago. That is public safety. That is power. You can't have that. You're not going to have that at the level that we should have it if we are not going to organize. If all we can do is want to be the head of, so that we can say that we're the head of something that is producing nothing just to stroke one's ego, what a big waste of energy and time. I'm going to continue to remind us about this, and I'm going to continue to, to to repeat it, because that is what we need to do. We are powerless because we refuse to organize ourselves together. We have never, ever had power. And the reason why we haven't had it is because we've never organized. No one has ever been able to liberate us, because no one person can do it. But each one of us together can liberate the masses, to lift our communities out of the doldrums, out of the disadvantage, out of the disenfranchisement. Look, in the city of Chicago, you cannot win the mayoral office. You cannot win the Cook County Board presidency without the Black vote. You cannot do it. So since our vote is so important to others, why do we refuse to in and of value to us? We started 10 by 10 to win as the tent, as the umbrella to bring a union of Black folks together for the interest of Black folks, not to build a coalition with anybody else. We have enough resources and numbers within ourselves in the city of Chicago, in the suburbs, in Cook County, and around the state to build the most powerful, influential block of Black advocate, Black voters. And we can finally raise our hand to say, we now have Black power. Why? Because anybody, including Governor Pritzker, Brandon Johnson, Tony Pretwinkle, and the rest of those people who are in political offices, will start to respond to us differently, with respect. We are not respected because we are showing very little respect for ourselves. I don't care how intelligent you are. I don't care what your GPA is. I don't care how many degrees that you have. I don't care how many that I have. I don't even care how much money that you have, in the sense that that is not going to elevate our communities. It is just not going to do it. Now, it has been said that we have people who have been successful, and they think because that they have been successful that things are okay. But I can tell you, there's one community that we are working with that is a relatively community of successful people. It's about 60% Black, more than 60% Black. Talking about Flossmoor. They just fired the first Black police chief. They hired the first Black chief in the 100-year history And the way that they're going into the celebration is to fire that black chief. Not because it's different, but because of systemic racism that even the people who are doing it are ignorant of their own biasness. So the people in Flossmoor are waking up to realize that just because we're having some economic success, we've got some advantages, but they have been rocked to reality that no matter what your socioeconomic climb, there is still systemic biasness and racism that we have to struggle and fight for. And we cannot do it in silos. We have to do it together. I have to be with the people of Flossmoor. You have to be with the people of Flossmoor. We have to be with the people of Homewood. All of the communities where we live, we have to be connected. We connect ourselves together, we can beat back these types of enemies, these types of disadvantages, these types of disparities that exist. They're not going away, but we can defeat them. And the way that we defeat them is that we become a we. We become a big we. That's how we defeat what is going on. You do not defeat that by being or wanting to be the big king on the hill. Again, what good does it do for you to be the chairman of nothing just so that you can say that your title is the chairman? And as the chairman of what? What did it do to liberate our people? Not much. It just got you some recognition. Not that you're not doing great work. Make no mistake about it. We have hundreds of organizations, small, medium, maybe even a little bit larger, doing great work individually. But because we don't have a supportive infrastructure to undergird all of the great work that our individual organizations are doing, from education to economics, because we don't have that in place, those organizations, with whatever progress that they're making, is very incremental and almost immeasurable. But for us to make sure that our communities are thriving through the work from those organizations, we bring ourselves together, cross collateralizing and cross collaborizing, collateralization. Sorry about that. That we collaborate ourselves together and cross collateralize ourselves, that we have to connect ourselves. Let me give you the let me just give you what I mean by that. When we start talking about um, connecting ourselves, we must connect ourselves in a way. We have to connect ourselves in a way that we can beat back any of those differences. I want to give you an example of what I mean. I just want to give you an illustration of what I mean. So let me find it here. I want to bring it up and put it on the screen. I want to put it on the screen so that we see just what it is that we have to do. Let me just locate this. Let me see that I can locate it. Okay. I hope that you can see this. I hope that you can see this. No, you can't see it. All right, let me try one more way. Some way I can't get it up on the screen. I can't get it up on the screen. So let's see if I get it on the screen. I had it earlier. I'll try to bring it up on the screen. Okay, for some reason I can't get it to come up on the screen. Well, I had it earlier. All right, well, we'll keep working. We'll keep working at it and see if I can get it. But maybe, if we don't have it this time, we'll have it the next time. But let me just say this, that you see my hand here? See my fingers? They're on one hand, but they're not individually strong. Now, they might be able to handle a little bit individually, but closed this way, they can handle a lot more. And the lifting will not be overtaxing any one finger. That represents us individually, our organizations, that we're doing all this great work, but there's a heavy lift because we're trying to do it all ourselves and we're not making much progress. We're not making a lot of progress. And I don't even want to hear about the excuses that we use about, trusting this person or trusting that person or trusting this group or trusting. You can spend all that time of distrust while all the resources continue to get on a bus and pass us by. You can engage in all of that counterproductive thinking and behavior, regurgitating and recycling all of those excuses that causes inactivity. We can do that. So we're making the decision to stay rudderless, to stay where we are. We are making the decision to stay in the condition that we're in by refusing to bring ourselves together. That is not a lot of work. And bringing ourselves together does not mean that we are abandoning whatever organization, whatever work that we're doing, because you're continuing that work. You're just connecting yourselves together as a body so that the body can support the very work that you are doing. 200,000 of us together can make the governor to political id. That's power. Power is not in how bright you are. Power is not even how much money you earn. We don't have the luxury of individualism. We don't have it. It is a cancer to us. It is destructive that we need to get away from that. Your success, your individual success, guess what? It doesn't belong to you. Your individual success does not belong to you. Now, some would say, what do you mean that it doesn't belong to you? Well, I'm going to give you what one of my and ours, someone that I respected in the movement and who had been trying and working to organize Black people from here to Africa. One who recognized that we are just as disorganized here as we are in Africa. And when I read this and I heard it, it was one of the most powerful messages that I've heard repeated. This is what he says to us about our individual success. Stokely Carmichael said that no Black person in this country makes any advancement solely based on his or her talent or worth. All individual advancement is based on mass struggle. We make no progress in this world without shedding our blood. Therefore, brothers and sisters, your advancement and success does not belong to you. It belongs to the people. And if you do not use your success or advancement for the benefit of your people, it is a betrayal of the people who shed their blood for you. We don't have the luxury that other people have. We have a shared responsibility because our numbers are not there, because our problems are much greater. Our disrepair is much greater than any other person in the country, any other group in the country. But our liberation is the sole responsibility of us collectively. So you and I must, if we want to see change, we must be the change that we're looking to see. We must be the leaders that we've been looking for. And so we have to lead by demonstrating a different mindset, by bringing ourselves together. And all I'm asking for us to do is to bring ourselves together, and we will demonstrate to ourselves, we will see our own power come into fruition, come into reality. And our own power will come into reality. It will come into reality when we bring ourselves and our advancement and our work and our abilities together to go in the same direction. We can make the decisions on who it is that we want to have to represent us. We make that decision together. The structure of 10 by 10 to win is the umbrella. And what that means is that if we did it 5 times over, we could organize 1 million people in one block 5 times. If 10 people gets 10 people in their trusted circle to come in, that is 100 people. And if those 100 trusted voices went and got 10 people who trust their voice to come in, we now have 1,000 trusted voices. If the 1,000 goes out and gets 10, we now have 10,000. If the 10,000 goes out and gets 10, we now have 100,000. If the 100,000 goes out and gets 10, we have 1 million trusted voices. That is organized power that has never existed in Black people in the history of the world. We have never had organized power that has existed in the history of this country since the Emancipation Proclamation and since Juneteenth, that Black folks were let go to be free. We have never had power. We've never brought ourselves together to exert, to hold, to have real power. That is real power that we can absolutely command and demand whatever it is that we need, whatever it is that we want to liberate our people. Unless we do that, and until we do that, we will continue to struggle. We will continue to struggle, and it will only be because of our refusal, not because we can't, but because we won't. Not because somebody else is putting a barrier, because we're putting the barrier. And the barrier is the decision not to organize, not to bring ourselves around one table. Nothing else is of a priority than that one thing is organizing ourselves together. When we organize ourselves together, there is nothing. We won't have to have anti-violence interrupters because we will be able to make the economic demands for investments for the people who want to be in power. Let me put it to you this way. If we organized ourselves together, just with the numbers, if we just brought ourselves together and they knew that we have finally organized, when I say they, every one of those persons in power, Black, white, Hispanic, whatever they are, they will then, without a doubt, respond and call and want an audience with us because we are now organized greater than any union in the country. And we have the power to determine one's political fate, from the governor to the mayor. I don't care how big their checkbooks are, because checkbooks don't vote. People vote. And nobody can win an election in the city of Chicago, the county of Cook, and the state of Illinois. In Chicago, we have 662 registered Black voters to date. We have another 180,000 eligible to be registered voters that are in the Black community. We have the largest single voting block of any ethnic group, despite the fact that we may be only a third or slightly less populated than the Hispanic community. But the fact is, we have more registered voters than any other ethnic group in Chicago to date. The United Auto Workers has a population of active members of 400,000 members active in the United States and Canada. They have another 580 retired members. That's 980,000 people. That is across the country and in Canada. We have that right here in Chicago, Cook County, and the state of Illinois. They were able to influence. You know how you look on social media and they have all these people they call the influencers? Oh, the real influence is organized power, organized labor. The United Auto Workers, who said to the auto manufacturers, we helped you out so that you can maintain the company. We maintain our jobs. You made a promise that when you're healthier, that you would repay us. When it came time to repay, after you've been trillions and trillions of dollars of record profits, you're now not willing to do it. The United Auto Workers said, then if you're not going to keep your commitment, we are going to have to make you pay. We're going to show you an example of that by calling a strike on 1, 2, 3. If you don't respond, that strike will spread. The United Auto Workers were able to influence a sitting, for the first time ever in history, a sitting United States president to stand on the picket lines with them. That's power. 400,000 people, 400,000 active, 580 inactive. Because they operated as a block, because they have the influence to say to a president of the United States that the way that we go, the way that the vote goes. And the president of the United States understands that power and had to respond. What I am saying to you and to us, Black community, let us exemplify and demonstrate real power by organizing ourselves together, by being disciplined, by staying focused and not being distracted, for the betterment of our people. If you don't focus on yourself, and you focus on the masses of our people, and we bring ourselves together for the purposes of the progress of our people, we will influence the political structure like we have never seen before. Like we have never seen before. Period. We've had great people. We have great people who've done great things in our history, individually. Individually, we've had great people to do it, do things historically. So many that we can't name them all. There's a woman by the name of Helen Amelia Logan, who was an educator and the daughter of an abolitionist who worked on the Underground Railroad. Her family helped enslaved people escape slavery, and it was believed that her family aided more than 1,500 Black people to escape from slavery. We got people like that you and I would ever learn about, who did great things individually. We can corporately, you and I can corporately help our people to escape enslaved conditions. Though we may not have shackles around our ankles, and we may be able to go to and fro freely, but the systemic shackles of enslavement is upon us. But we have the wherewithal to connect ourselves together to free and liberate all of our people from systemic shackles of slavery. So I ask you in these last 3 minutes, if you would just do this one thing. I'm putting it up in the chat. Text 10x10 to the number 855-909-1385. Do it now. 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 Text 10x10 to the number 855-909-1385. Do it right now. And then tomorrow you will get a text with a Zoom link. Join us on the Zoom so that we can continue to organize ourselves together. Organize ourselves together that we have to buy a larger bandwidth to put more people together. Right here in the Cook County, the city of Chicago, state of Illinois, we could be the example and the model for the country. Do it now. Text 10x10 to the number 855-909-1385. This is how we liberate our people, by organizing ourselves together. You don't have to be the brightest bulb in the box, because the brightest bulb in the box operating by itself will have very little power and give off very little light, but a bunch of lights together will illuminate the entire planet. All right, that's going to do it for us tonight. I wanted to spend this time, and I'm going to spend more time reminding us of what we have to do if we want to change. But that's going to do it for us tonight. We're going to be coming back to you with some other programs. Got programs coming up for you on Saturday. Make sure you tune in for the Legal Hour with Judge Leonard Murray, who is going to be answering all your legal questions that you may have. whatever they may do. Can't give you legal advice, but he certainly can answer your legal questions. So make sure you tune in for that Saturday at 1 p.m. Central Standard Time, 2 p.m. Eastern Time. So Judge Linda Murray and I will be back on Saturday. I'm going to be doing more of the podcast, bringing you information, educating you on the facts about the Biden-Harris administration and the choice that you have to make over what is not a good choice. Not going to spend a lot of time on that, but I want to spend a lot of time on giving you the receipts so that you know exactly what is happening and how that impacts the lives of thousands upon thousands of people, millions upon millions of people. That is going to be beneficial for the future, for decades. But we have got to get ourselves in the position to make sure that we are moving with that future and that we are moving up, liberating and thriving our communities forward. All right, look forward to seeing you all on Saturday. Richmond Heights Strong at the, I think this is the 9th annual Richmond Heights One Love reunion. We're going to have a great time out in the park. I want to thank all of you for tuning into the program. I look to see you. I want to see that you all fill. Text 10x10 to the number 855-909-1385. Let's get organized.